And Brother West has been trying to steal that time. He keeps trying to 45, 50, and so no. As we look at the home, there are some threats to the home today. One of those comes from the subject of this hour, evolution. And it has had a great effect upon the home. And so you were here last night, you heard Brother West and dealing with man's role in the home. And today he has this subject of evolution's effect on the home. I mentioned last night that he is preaching it strictly, and Brother Coates went up to him afterwards and started talking about all the people that were there. As he grew up there and knows them well. Brother West did a fine job last night, so I know that those who heard him can expect the same today. He and his wife Sonia have 3 children. He's a good friend and has been since I've known him. Has always been willing to stand for the truth, and appreciate him for that, and know what we're in for as far as a treat in relationship to a study of this aspect. So Brother West comes to us.
Thank you, Michael. He wasn't wasting any time hitting that button either. Yeah, right at the end of the song, held up 45, and he shook his head no. I gave him the okay sign and went 50. He didn't like that either. He said 35 and quit. But I told him as he was standing up here preparing to start, you're delaying lunch. I told him he needed to get it going. I said, you're delaying lunch, so if lunch is late, it's going to be Michael's fault for not starting on time rather than my fault for going over. If I do happen to go over, we're still going to blame him. That's the easy way out of it. We're talking about evolution's effect on the home today. And we know about the subject of evolution. I'm going to give a little background without going into too much detail. But I do believe that Jerry gave us probably the best proof that evolution is wrong just a few minutes ago. Because in evolution things grow and develop. And he said if evolution were true, your hair wouldn't be falling out, you'd be growing more hair. So that's one of the true statements I guess Jerry has made. I started making an illustration with him last evening about the husband and the wife, the husband being the head and the husband giving directions and knowing directions, but when it comes to directions, Jerry has to ask his wife rather than her asking him where to go, but that's all right. He said at least he is man enough to admit when he does get lost rather than drive around for an hour trying to figure it out because he's too stubborn to admit it. So that's one good thing as well, I guess. Jerry and I have been friends for a number of years, went to Faulkner University together, and have been close ever since then. And got to know Michael several years ago and really enjoyed that friendship with him, his stand for the truth, and the congregation here and your stand for the truth as well. Evolution is attacking our home from every angle today. Every opportunity that our world has today in the subject or the deal with evolution, evolution is going to attack the home. It will attack the family. It will attack society. And sadly, even though evolution, or those who believe in evolution are in the minority, they're the ones who have the majority of the rights today in our society. And it's largely due to the fact that we're not standing up against it as we should, as strongly as we should, and we're not as vocal as we should be today. We need to be more vocal when it comes to the subject of evolution. Since it is seeking to wreak havoc upon the home today, we need to try to take our homes back, fight for our homes, and in doing so we must fight against evolution. There is a great problem today in our society with evolution. Evolutionists will call this particular idea a fact. They won't even call it a theory. At least people have the foresight who don't believe in it to call it a theory. And one thing that I have been pleased with in the state of Alabama, in the front of the textbooks in Alabama, the biology textbooks especially, there is a disclaimer that states that the theory of evolution that is taught within that book is only that, a theory. And at least they had the foresight to do that. Evolutionists have caused problems. The ACLU have threatened lawsuits and everything else in Alabama. So far it hasn't happened. So far we have won out in keeping that little tag in the front of the book. I wish evolution being taught in the book was taken out completely, not even allowed to be taught in that school or any school system. One thing that I was pleased with as I finished Spalding University, I still had 1 or 2 classes to go before I actually received my diploma. I walked in the spring and that summer. I had a biology class I had not taken. And I went to a community college knowing that I was about to receive evolution in that. And I went on the first day ready to fight. I was ready for whatever was put out in that classroom. Had my bubble burst that day in the class, but it was actually a pleasant thing. The lady was a member of a denomination. However, she did stand up in the class and she did say, open to chapter 1. Chapter 1 is the theory of evolution. I don't believe it and I do not teach it. Turn to chapter 2. And she went to chapter 2. She said, as a college professor, I have the right to teach this material in this book, and if I don't want to teach it, I'm not going to teach it. And if some of you have a problem, then I'm sorry. But we're not going to study evolution in my class. And she went to the next chapter. I was pleasantly surprised. I have known of teachers within high school systems who are members of the church who say, well, I'm required to teach this. I teach this to say that I do not believe it, but it's only a theory, but I'm required to teach this. Had we had more members of the church with the foresight and with the, Brother Coach, I'm from the country too, with the guts to stand up and say, I'm not going to teach this, and the school system fires me, let them fire me, then we'd have a lot less of this taught in the classroom today. And I know there are state laws that must be followed, but God's law is always going to supersede man's law, and we need to know that, and we need to adhere to that ourselves. But we call it a theory. Evolutionists call it a fact, but is it either? I found an interesting quote in Roger Dixon's book, The Fall of Unbelief, on pages 149 and 150, where he states, quote, in the strict sense of the word, evolution has not graduated to the level of being classified as a theory. Organic evolution, as defined by those previously quoted, and he quoted several evolutionists, would more readily be in the category of a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is, quote, something not proved, but assumed for the purpose of argument. And Roger Dixon bases his continual thought after this that evolution is not even a theory, it's only a hypothesis, and it's really not even a good one at that. When you start looking at the way man was made, organic evolution was made popular by Charles Darwin in the 1800s. He did not originate evolution. It has been taught for thousands of years, but it has been made popular for as modern day evolution by Charles Darwin in the 1800s. He was born in the early 1800s, died in 1892. And he popularized this very much so even for today. Evolution teaches that a form of life begins with a single cell and then grows to a more complex, higher life form over millions and millions of years. It amazes me that those who believe and teach the theory of evolution or even the hypothesis of evolution will not bring to us a half-man, half-ape today. If evolution is true and people are still evolving as they say they're evolving, and they say we started from a single life or single cell and grew to a more complex life form, and we were at one time a monkey and then became a man, there has to be somewhere in our world today a half-man, half-ape. There has to be someone that may be more man and less ape. He might still have a shorter tail he's wagging around, but he's got to have something if this theory is true. Yet we don't see people producing those kinds of examples because they can't. It doesn't exist. But it does cause problems today. Evolution teaches that over millions and millions of years we have these things form and develop and grow. But God tells me, and He tells you in His Word, that He made the world in 6 literal days. When you read Genesis chapter 1 and 2, you will see that the world and all that is in it, everything, was made in 6 days. We have a great problem with evolution today, and we must stand against it. One thing that I see growing more today in our world is the doctrine and the teaching of humanism. Humanism has its roots in evolution, those who are humanists, and those who signed the Humanist Manifesto 1 and 2, all were acclaimed evolutionists. We talk about evolution today, and evolution is in the home, but it comes in the form of humanism. And humanism states a number of things which we'll notice just in a moment, but humanism basically teaches that man is good, and that his goals should be for self-actualization and self-determination and self-indulgence. Notice each one of those has the word self in front of it. It's all selfish. Humanism is rooted in selfishness. Humanism is rooted in pride for number one. Why do we see things happening in our world today? A lot of it is based upon humanism. We see people who will scratch and claw their way to the top of a corporate chain, or of a family chain, or of a chain of friends, or whatever it may be, based on what they can do for themselves. We're all told to look out for number one. We're taught that in the home, we're taught that on television, we're taught that in the school system, we're taught that in the government. You look out for number one. You don't worry about everybody else, you take care of yourself. You take care of old number one, and everybody else can just deal with it the way they can. And you have to hurt people on the way to the top, you just have to do that because you've got to look out for number one. If you destroy people's character and reputation going to the top, so be it. That's what you must do in order to look out for number one. Folks, that's humanism in a nutshell. And that's also part of evolution. Humanism advocates sexual activity and promiscuity for the old and young alike. For instance, humanism believes that sexual freedom from restraints and responsibilities are based upon personal sexual pleasure. It produces separations, and it also causes divorce and family deterioration today. But their own thing and their own words are that they want sexual freedom from responsibilities. Why do we see men not taking the role that they should in the home today? Or as Brother Smith pointed out, the women have a responsibility, and women can shirk their responsibility by doing some of these humanistic things. And it's causing a great deterioration within the home as a result of it. It advocates free use of pornography and drugs, and some of the things I'm giving you now is actually from humanist documents themselves, some from the Humanist Manifesto 1 and 2, some from other writings of humanists. This is what they say about it. It also endorses prostitution, homosexuality, and abortion on demand. Humanism. Now we can start seeing how it's eating away at the family and how it destroys the family. As a matter of fact, we see that human life is not considered sacred anymore because humanism, because of evolution. Human life is evaluated by its desirability and productivity rather than based on the fact that every human has a soul. When you read Charles Darwin, you'll see that Charles Darwin, in The Origin of Species, had a section about the survival of the fittest. Might makes right. The stronger survive, the weaker put to death. We not see that in our world today? From the oldest down to the youngest. That quack doctor in Michigan several years ago that helped euthanize older people because they were sick and infirm. We've got a lot of doctors even today that are still quacks doing that very thing. No regard for human life. No regard for the soul. Might makes right, and if the older person is weak, let's euthanize them. Let's kill them. Let's put them to death. Get them out of the way. They're costing us money in the healthcare fields. It costs money to put them in a hospital and to treat them, and when they have no insurance and their own Social Security and they can't pay for it, and now the government is out money, the hospital is out money, the doctor's sure not making his money. So let's euthanize them. Let's kill them. Our older folks in nursing homes that cannot care for themselves anymore, let's go ahead and kill them. Let's euthanize them. That is evolution and humanism. That's how it affects the home. Now let me ask each one of you here a question today. If your aged parent was or is in a hospital or nursing home, would you want someone to go in and inject a poison in their system to kill them just because they're considered of no value anymore? I don't know a single person in here that would want that to happen. How would that affect your family? Even though you're an aged parent or just an uncle or aunt or maybe a grandparent, then that kind of shape, that's family. That hurts our home when that happens from the top. But it goes all the way to the bottom. And I say to the bottom from the oldest to the youngest. Those who haven't had a chance to experience life, who are considered a, quote, mistake in this world. Because this young girl is getting more and more popular with women in their 20s and 30s who just don't want to be burdened down with a child because their career has taken off. They're excelling in their field and they don't want someone to stop them. So what do? They find the quickest, easiest way out in their own mind by having a quick end to it all. Going to an abortion clinic and allowing that doctor to murder their unborn baby. That is legal in our world today. I have been so hoping and praying that Roe v. Wade would be overturned. And I was so hoping that our current president would put justices in there that would do it. But I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't know that any president, again, has the guts to stand up and say, we're not tolerating murder of the unborn anymore. Oh, I'm running on a platform of pro-life and I don't believe in it, but we're living in a world and I've got to follow the laws. The laws say that we can do that, so, and I know we have to follow the laws, folks. Don't get me wrong in that. When you have a man in one of the highest positions in the land who has the opportunity to put people in and who can overturn it, and they simply won't do it, tells you a lot about those who are running our country. These senators who refuse to put a ban on gay marriage, they can call it gay all they want, it's sick. But we're having to deal with this every day. How does it affect the home? Just in that one aspect on human life not being sacred. And abortion on demand shows that it's tearing our homes up. And we need to be ready to fight. Behaviors also change as a result of evolution and humanism. Standards from human experience or pluralistic standards are required. It produces permissiveness in our society. You hear that? It produces permissiveness. Oh, I don't agree with abortion, but we're going to permit it because that's where our society is. Folks, that's humanism. Now we see how humanism also affects so many members of the church today. With abortion, with homosexuality, with prostitution, with fornication, with adultery, with drug use. We've been hearing the cry for years, let's legalize marijuana. It's not so bad. And we have folks who will stand back and say, well, I'm really not for it, but I'm not necessarily against it, so I'm just not going to say anything. You've said something when you've done that. You've said that you're living in a society of permissiveness, and you'll permit the legalization of certain things, be it drugs, alcohol, abortion, or whatever the case may be. Same-sex marriage. We sit back and permit things to happen because humanism has affected us. Evolution has affected us. And if we have someone say that we believe in evolution, we'll stand up and fight, but we don't even know anything about humanism that is really the same exact thing, and it's crept into our homes. And so many members of the church believe humanistic philosophy, and they really don't know it. And if they were called a humanist and actually learned what humanism was, they might be mad. Yet they still believe it by their very actions. Evolution affects the home greatly today. Evolution affects us by having a disrespect for the supreme authority of the home. We know who that is, God. And I'm not spending a lot of time on that because I dealt with authority last night and the father's role in the home and authority in the home. But it does disrespect the supreme authority, beginning with God. Evolution has crept into the point that we no longer recognize God as we should. Or we recognize Him maybe as a being. Some people do, some people don't. But who is God? What does God do for me? That's the kind of attitude that so many people have. It also disregards the authority of the home of the parents. Our children are not taught respect anymore. And we mentioned this last night, but they're not taught respect partly it's mom and daddy's fault. But folks, they're not taught respect because they're not getting it in the school system. They're not getting it on the television. We're not seeing it in our government. We have government officials that can go out and break the law and they have a little slap on the hand and they go right back into their office again, or they stay right in their office and pay a little small fine and stay where they are. We're teaching our children it's all right if you're in certain circles to break the law because of who you are. The might makes right philosophy. Humanism and evolution also attacks the home because it disregards the sanctity of the home. I mentioned some of these things earlier, but I want to go into more detail with them. It disregards the sanctity of the home. Look at Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1, God made man and woman. And Brother Paul's lesson earlier, he made a comment, he had it on the screen for us right at the very end. That God made one man and one woman for a lifetime. Notice he didn't say he made one man and one man for a lifetime, nor did he say in his lesson he made one woman and one woman for a lifetime, but he said, and he correctly stated from God's Word, that God made one man and one woman for one lifetime without exception. That was God's rule. And we see the exception as far as the divorce and remarriage. I'll deal with that just in a minute. I'm not going to get into his subject that he dealt with, but I'm going to touch on that. The exception for divorce is fornication, but the point of the way God made man and made woman was He never intended divorce to take place. He intended for there to be faithfulness within that marriage between that one man and that one woman for a lifetime, but it's been changed. It's been changed often by having man and man, or woman and woman. My senior history class in high school, we had a debate, and that debate was talked about every year as far as being in that class. And that was the highlight of the senior year in history class, was heavy debate. Half the class debated the other half with a spokesman on either side and following the Robert's Rules of Order and the debate tactics. And within this class we had a teacher. His initials was God. Gregory Oliver Davis. I don't think as long as I live I'll forget his name. Because he thought he was God. And I may have mentioned this in other lectures before, some of you may have heard this, but we had a debate and we chose the issue of homosexuality to debate. And he chose some on one side of the room and some on the other. It's interesting that one supporting it was actually a self-claimed homosexual in high school. And while in that debate, he said, if any of you try to use the Bible, I'm going to stop you. We're not putting up with that. Which this guy didn't believe in God. He didn't care about God. He just thought he was God, literally. So he wouldn't allow us to even use the Bible in discussing the issue of homosexuality, even though one of the guys on our side that did it brought the Bible up anyway and pretty much challenged the teacher to say something about it. But besides that, we had a little slogan we put up that has been used for many, many years, and everybody's heard it, that God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. But we live in a world today where you see Adam and Steve running around all over the place. And it's sickening. Nothing, I guess, turns my stomach more than to see homosexuals in public holding hands and kissing and doing some of their perverted, sinful things they do. It's sick. Which, within God's eyes, any sin is sick. But we look at things, I know, a little bit differently, but that makes things even worse when we see the sin of homosexuality. Yet, it's being pushed. Destroying the sanctity of the home, and it's because partly of evolution and humanism. It tells you you do what you want to do, no matter what anyone else says. As a matter of fact, evolutionists and humanists will say that since there is no God, you are your own God. Live life is fullest. Since there is no life after death, live life is fullest. That is from the Humanist Manifesto 1. But let me read you something better. Romans chapter 1. In Romans chapter 1, we can read, the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God is manifested to them, for God is shown unto them. The wrath of God is going to be revealed from heaven against all unrighteousness and ungodliness. Now I want us to drop down And notice how some of these people changed. Look at verse 21. Because that when they knew God, they glorified Him not as God, neither were they thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into the image made like to corruptible man, to birds, to four-footed beasts, to creeping things, wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness, to the lust of their own heart, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them up to vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of error, which was meet. If Romans 1, 26 and 27 does not condemn homosexuality, nothing does. It is plain. Anybody with one eye and half sense can see that verse 26 tells us that women change the natural use, something against nature. Men did the same thing with lust burning in the heart, left the natural use of a woman, and did those things unseemly. Men with men. It already talked about women with women. Yet our society glorifies that. Is evolution creeping in the home? It's also creeping in the home through our educational system. I thank God that I live in an area that most people are religious somewhat, somehow, in nature. Wrong religion most of the time, but at least they have some type of background that gives them a moral standing where they at least will teach against this. But there are a lot of school systems where homosexuality is being taught. Our kindergartners and our first graders are being read small books. And we think, well, what harm does it do for them to have a book read to them? A lot of these books are pro-homosexual books about a man and his friend who live together and have children that they're rearing in a home. It's not natural. Or about a woman and her friend living together and rearing children within that home. They're trying to make our small children just feel like nothing's wrong with it. And that way they can get acceptance beginning in the first grade level. So by the time they get to the high school level, you won't see debate on homosexuality anymore. You'll see acceptance fully. They're doing that now, today in our school systems in many areas, in many states. And we must fight against that. But also, evolution disregards the sanctity of the home and divorce and remarriage. If you don't like the one with whom you're living, go to the courthouse, have a piece of paper signed, wait a period of time, and then you're free to find you someone else. In the meantime, if you want to go ahead and start dating, even though the law doesn't allow you specifically to do that, go ahead and start looking, so when your divorce becomes final, you've already found you someone else. Folks, that's based in evolution. Why? Because evolutionists, humanists, do not believe in God. They do not believe in God's Word. They could care less about what the Bible teaches about the sanctity of the home and a marriage. Therefore, find whoever you want, whenever and wherever. Years and years ago, I heard a preacher who has since died in a gospel meeting preaching about this very thing. And he was illustrating the fact of a lady with whom he had talked about her daughter. Her daughter, she had been told to go out and find you someone to marry. If that doesn't work out, no harm, no foul, divorce him, find you someone else. If that one doesn't work out, divorce him, no harm, no foul, go find you someone else. And eventually you'll find someone that you can live with the rest of your life. We hear all this today about finding your soulmate. Oh, that first one wasn't my soulmate. I just thought she was, or I thought he was. and I was mistaken. So I had to try to get rid of that situation and find my real soulmate. And they're looking for a soulmate because they lose their soul. And they simply don't care, because evolution's attack on the sanctity of the home has told us that if you can't find someone compatible, divorce that person and find someone who is compatible. Because they have no regard for God nor family. It's destroying the sanctity of the home within that one-eyed box that we often watch, called a television set. You notice how much evolution is taught on it? Our old cartoons I grew up on, I didn't think about till I got older and started noticing. Good old Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. See some things about evolution on it. See some things about evolution on some of our old cartoons, Bugs Bunny and some of them. They even taught some evolution. Well, we didn't think about it growing up as much. That was our cartoons, but look at it more now. The cartoons we see now are even more blatant than they were even when we were growing up. Blatant evolution being taught. Of millions and millions of years ago, the earth was formed and the dinosaurs roamed the earth. And all that sort of thing being taught. Being taught in our cartoons. Why? Because now they can reach our kids before they ever start school. When they're 1 and 2 and 3 years old, and they sit in front of that box, and that great little cartoon comes on. My daughter grew up watching Barney. I just couldn't stand that purple dinosaur. It got on my nerves. But she loved him. And I noticed one day she was watching one of the Barney videos that I bought her. It had something in about evolution. Had to take it out. They even push it on Barney. Who would think Barney would teach you, but you got a dinosaur to begin with? It's acting as if he's millions of years old, and actually comes out and tells he's millions of years old at Barney's birthday party. We're seeing it taught in our cartoons. In our books today, not only in the school system, but books that our children check out from the public library. The things they're having to fight with this. Like just a few years ago in Texas, it was brought out in spring lectures about a group of individuals in spring fighting against some of those very things being put in the public library system. I believe they even have their own website to show the books that taught evolution and fighting against it. And I hope they still are, and folks, we need to be doing the same thing. Just because it's a public library, we can't say, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It's a public library. They did something about it. They fought, and I'm assuming still fighting that issue to get the books out of the public library system. We're going to have to do something if our kids are going to stay away from these types of books that have infiltrated our homes. But evolution also disregards the value of human life. We mentioned earlier about abortion. Abortion on demand is what they want. You know, you stop and think about it. It upsets me when I see these things. It greatly bothers me when I hear about an abortion. But let's think about it from a standpoint of the world today. We've got people who go out and act like dogs, when they'll go around and treat one another like dogs. And why shoot one another like you shoot a dog sometime? That's why we have no regard for human life. An evolutionist does not believe that human life is sacred anymore. And that has crept on down, just not from them, but in our school systems and everywhere else. Human life is not sacred. And we have abortion on demand. And we go out and act like a dog, and a young girl or a woman becomes pregnant because she acted like a dog. And that's just as simply as I can put it, folks. Not meaning to be crude, but that's just as simply as I can put it. They're acting like dogs. Why not kill the baby? That's why people have that mindset and that thinking today. And we've got to get out of that ourselves. We've got to get others out of it. It's interesting, though, I've had discussions with evolutionists before. Jerry and I, years ago, we finally wised up and realized sleep was more important. But we'd get on some of these websites, these religious chat rooms, And invariably, we'd get in debate some of these denominational folks, and invariably evolutionists would have to come in and start spouting his evolution doctrine. And usually Jerry and I were about the first one that would jump them and stay up half the night debating evolutionists. And there was some on one of those websites, one of those chat rooms one night, that said that human life is sacred. We tried to convince them that they didn't believe human life was sacred, and they said, oh, human life is sacred. No, it's not. If they believe human life is sacred, they will not push for abortion. But they don't. They don't believe it's sacred. If human life is not sacred, if we're no different than an animal, and I mentioned the dog, if we're no different than a dog doesn't have a soul. When old Rover's dead, he's dead all over. Well, that's what they believe about a human. If I'm no different than an animal, that I can go take a gun and shoot and kill, and it makes no difference, then why can't I go shoot another human being? What makes it a difference? Why have a judicial system at all? Let's have anarchy. Everyone told a gun, you find somebody you don't like, just shoot them and be done with it. How many folks you think will be living today? Not very many. But the very theory and the very idea of evolution, if they truly believed and followed their premise all the way through, would not only stop at abortion and euthanasia for the old, but it would say, if I don't like my neighbor, I'll shoot him, because it really doesn't make any difference. We're all just going to go back to the dirt. I don't have a soul, I'm just going to die, and that's it. Well, what does it matter if we kill someone if there's no soul involved? If a man is no different than a monkey or a dog or any other type of animal, it really doesn't matter if you kill them. Oh, no, we can't do that. Wait a minute, you're putting words in our mouth. No, I'm trying to show evolutionists what their end result of their theory is. They won't accept that. They want to accept the conclusion of their premise. That disregards human life. But it also disregards the hope of eternal life. Since they do not believe they have a soul, they believe they're going to be dead and dead all over, it doesn't matter. They have no hope of human life. They do not believe in life after the grave. Not only will it cost them their souls, but it will cost millions upon millions their soul when they believe this type of idea. We must teach against evolution in the home and the effects that it has in the home. It destroys the husband-wife relationship, it destroys the parent-child relationship, it destroys the children's relationship with each other, with their friends, with authority in government, with authority in school, with authority with God. It destroys the home entirely. We allow evolution to come into our home and be taught in our home. Evolution is destroying the very foundation of home today. And this is something for which we must fight, and fight hard. We can't waver at all in this battle, or we'll start losing more and more of our children. We're already losing some children, but we're going to be losing more children if we don't get a hold of this and stand against this damnable heresy. And as Christians, God wants us to fight, and fight for the cause of truth and for the cause of right against anything that goes against His Word. Thank you for your time today.